So I wanted to make another Premiere editing video that is about nesting sequences inside each other. This is helpful for when you've made an animation sequence come together. So for example, one bouncing ball bouncing a few times, and you want to combine it with other animation. So combining a bouncing ball with a pendulum or with other bouncing balls. And if you use sequence nesting, then you can have a master sequence where you don't see all these individual frames and layers. You just reduce each mini project into a block that you can easily move around without having to move all of these frames every time that you move within a complex project. So let me just show you what I mean. So again, I'm going to make a new sequence with the preset sequence settings that I had, 12 FPS, square pixels, 2199 by 1700 frame size. And make my sequence master sequence. Master editing sequence. And so what I'm gonna do is just drag my bouncing ball editing sequence that I was working on before into my master editing sequence. And then it shows up, but it doesn't show all those individual frames and files and layers rather. So then if I wanted to just repeat this several times, I could. Really easy way to loop. Delete that, delete that. One thing about working with this is that it links the audio and video together, and it brings in an audio layer automatically. And my original didn't have audio, so I don't want that. Maybe I want to add my audio only in the master sequence, and you can easily do that by either adding extra audio on extra audio files, or you can click unlink and it will make your audio and video layer separate, and you can delete the audio or the video. Okay, I'm gonna undo that. And if you're building other sequences in here, like your frame, your bouncing ball with the arc, or any other sequences, you can just drag them in one after the other. And you can even copy and paste sequences from other projects. So into File, open recent. I'm gonna open my pendulum from last week. And up at the top, you can see here your different projects. So I'm going to switch back and forth between bouncing ball edit and pendulum edit. So pendulum edit. And I'm going to go into my bouncing ball pendulum timeline. Just ticking away. And I'm going to copy the pendulum editing timeline sequence in my other media bin. I just selected it and then Control C. And I'm gonna go back to bouncing ball edit. I'm gonna paste it in my media bin. And that will paste all of the files I need to make that sequence work. And then I'm going to take my pendulum editing timeline, go back to my master editing sequence from my first project, and put my pendulum in here right after the bouncing ball. And then when I play it, it has those two clips, one after the other, and that makes it really easy to have a neat and clean editing sequence that doesn't have all those individual files, frames that I have to move around. Just gives neat and easy blocks to work with. You can even change the color of these different blocks to make it like easier for you to see the difference between them. So this is on forest. I'm going to change it to rose, and now that second one is pink. You can see these easily come together. You can add transitions between them. It's really great. Okay. The other advantage of making nested sequences, like sequences inside of sequences, is that you can go back into your other sequences and change things, and it will automatically update it in your master editing timeline. So let's see. Here I'm going to turn off my video layer. So what you can do is just not show that. Then you go back to your master editing sequence and it takes that out. You turn it back on with this little eye, and now I can see it. And you can make changes on your frames. So if I wanted one of my frames to hold in the air for a longer time, I can use my ripple edit to make it longer. Now when I play it, it holds for a long time. When you do that, just know that your background doesn't automatically get longer. So it will cut off. You need to adjust your background to be longer to match that. And oops, not that way. I'm going to use my regular selection tool. Okay. So now this has the frame hold, and the background is the correct length. And then when I go back to my master editing sequence, that frame does hold. But notice that it didn't change the overall length of the nested sequence. So I have my hold that I wanted, that I changed, but then it doesn't loop as many times as it should. It just stops. So in the original, it loops like, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 times after that hold. And if we go back to the master editing sequence, it only holds once and it only repeats 3 times. So I'm missing something. So that's because it doesn't automatically ripple edit everything else if the length changes, because it would be pushing a lot of other clips out of place, and it will not make those changes unless you do it manually. So what you'll have to do is lengthen the length of your first one, whatever one that changed the length, with your ripple edit tool. So go back to ripple edit, and I'm going to make this bouncing ball editing sequence longer. It will only lengthen it as long as the new version is. So then when I play it back, it loops, 4 or 5 times, then it goes into pendulum. And then from here you can keep building with these really neat and easy building blocks, and just go back and forth between editing the original and putting the master sequence together. So I hope this helps you work on editing a complex set of different clips and audio and frames in Premiere.